Hello, Ashraful.
Hello, Fredrik.
So I'm thinking now it's time for us to reach out to the world. We have talked for a long time now, and we have tried to make good video recordings, but it's always this thing to be really convinced when it's the right thing, the right time, and all this. What do you think?
Yes, I think one is to get started, like, and then over time we'll become better in making videos also,
Mm,
and and also formulating what we
exactly.
we feel needs to be communicated with the world.
Yeah. And I think it's a good start then to say something about us, both who we are individually and what we do together, what our vision is together. Um, so, yeah, which way to start, do you think? Uh,
Good question.
uh, Maybe I ask you, say just a few words about your background, who you are. Do you know
Yes,
who you are?
that is exactly what we're unfolding who we are
Mm,
as ourselves and us and individuals and all these things. But in practical level, like I have a PhD in applied and computational mathematics from KTH, Royal Institute of Technology from Stockholm,
mm,
and that was a big part of my development into science and into the world of knowledge. And in particular, I studied something that is connected to quantum physics. And it was the first time I actually went into quantum physics and that sort of thinking. And some of these things are it can be very confusing. But strangely, I never felt confused in a way. I was trying to understand it, certain concepts like superposition and entanglement and these concepts in quantum physics that are bizarre compared to what classical world we observe and we experience every day.
yeah.
And so I would think that has a good impact with things that we are doing today and my own development.
Mm. I'm sure we will get a lot of much more about that later. Um, but your interests in the arts, where did that start?
I would believe like this the cliche kind of that I always had interest in art, but
Mm.
and but yeah, in many ways that is true
But
because
the deeper
yes,
interest, you
the renewed interest.
yeah. I mean, you decided to really study arts in different genres, photography,
Yes.
and yeah.
So during my PhD and before that, I was doing photography on my own, and I developed kind of in a good way. I developed by following internet-based information and communicating with other photographers and exchanging work. And so I was very serious in that. But I was doing my PhD, and afterwards I wanted to go deeper into studying art and particularly studio work and such, like studying photography and art. And then I continued studying art after my PhD, and I continued studying very seriously for several years.
Mm,
So that included art, fine art, and photography,
yeah.
and uh, and social science, including yes, so including Latin American studies, for example, and
Mm,
also Swedish culture and also East Asian culture.
yeah.
So cultural studies and
I
and such.
I've realized that you are very into studying different things. It seems to me that studying in itself is really important to you, to go deeper into things, to really also formally study, taking courses and not just read about things, but
Yes. So in many ways, it reminds me of a communication I had once with one person. He wrote a book also about courage that is in Swedish,
mm,
and we had a communication, and he was kind of we had almost a philosophical and existential level dialogues sometimes.
mm,
And he was telling me at that point that I had a picture of the world which I was looking into, but a lot of parts are blurry because I did not have the details on those parts. So my mind somehow wanted to grasp that bigger picture, and now it's still blurry because the world, the closer you get, there are more parts that you, but your mind can actually connect those. So by studying fine arts and social science and these sort of concepts and seeing the parallels with the physics and mathematics world
mm,
and computer science world and the business world, so you see that how they are interconnected and how they're very similar in many ways, and that is actually exciting and encouraging. And you also realize that when you do computer algorithms and such and programming and solving a mathematics problem, that is actually a very creative task. And that is not always discussed in that way. It's mostly when people talk about creative tasks, they talk about music, photography, maybe, and yes, photography and paintings and sculpting and these things.
mm,
But solving a scientific problem is a very creative work.
mm,
So I could see the connections. Like my mind actually broadened, and I could relax more. That is what that was needed as well
mm,
to let it connect, because the brain will connect, or we can say the brain will connect. It's not, you cannot force it always.
mm. Yeah. Uh, we will sure hear much more about your.
Yes, I would like to hear from you. Like,
Yeah, exactly.
who are you?
Mm,
Please tell us.
yeah, I mean, starting at that, who are you? Who am I? That's. I mean, in a way, thinking about that is already something telling about me, because I cannot be sure about that. That's saying something about that I'm reflecting a lot. Uh, However, what I do, I appreciate to be out in nature. I hike. Uh, Later years also run a lot in the nature and do orienteering, running with a map and finding my way. It's like treasure hunt. I think it's an adventure. But okay, I'm composing music. I'm a composer, if I should say that I am something. It's like when you shall say a title. Okay, I am a composer. However, I appreciate to compose things. So not only music. I can put together a schedule for something, or a course, or that kind, or arranging the in the orienteering when they have their trainings, put together interesting tasks to solve. Uh, uh, but the music, of course, is what I'm maybe sort of a bit known for. People know that I'm doing that. On the other hand, when I meet people who don't know me, when I tell about that I am a composer of classical music, I find it very special, something that I very rarely meet people who do that. Uh, so so in a way, I think I'm not so to say the average person you meet on the street, whoever that is. I don't know, but I'm quite long outside the normal or average. Uh, uh,
Hmm.
mm,
Interesting. So yeah, it's really exciting what you do, and that yes, and also to meet a classical music composer today is a kind of rare thing for anyone, I would think.
mm,
Yes.
yeah.
Of course, you meet a classical music composer maybe every day when you wake up.
Uh, I mean, we many of
Like when you see yourself in the mirror.
Aha, you mean that person? Yeah, of course. Because I thought about my colleagues, and we are not.
That too, but you see maybe
Not
yourself
very
more
much.
often.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's very seldom that I think so when I look in the mirror. Oh, there is that composer now again. It's like, no, so the question who am I is very relevant. But of course, all this is philosophical things, and I mean, I think that's something that really connects us, if coming to what has brought us together, and this the Yellow Road that we decided to call it, our organization that we have started to build and want to create much more of. And what we also call this the Yellow Path, which is more the way we are searching for. At least that's my point of view. How do you
Yes,
what do you think when I say the Yellow Path?
yes. So let's come there, but I would first want to stay with you a bit longer with this.
Yes.
You're running. That is something I think is exciting and orienteering
Mm-hmm.
that you work with and you do. So you did not run for many years in a very serious way in your life, and then there was a time when you started to do that.
Mm.
So there's a shift I see that happened. So
Yeah,
I'm curious about like this sounds very
exactly. Yes.
profound change in life.
Yeah. Maybe.
Using practical actually movement. So you're actually on the path, you're trails and path, you're going out, and also when you're doing orienteering, you're also going through the forest.
Mm.
So somehow there seems to be there's a connection with the philosophical and the physical.
Yes, I think it is absolutely. I mean, they're of course very practical, hands-on level, like the sport, just running a competition, do as quick as you can, follow the course, find the controls, reach the goal. But absolutely also a philosophical aspect, or at least you can make these connections when reflecting on it. I think, of course, following a map, see how it relates to reality. It connects to a lot of things in life. Not always you have a map, of course, for your life, but quite often it's possible to find maps for part of your life, things that you need to or want to do or change or whatever. So yes, uh,
Yeah.
in that sense. But the running part, I mean, uh, I didn't believe that it was good for me to run, I think, before I started 3 years ago, approximately. Um, then before then, I only hiked, but I could walk for a whole day for 18 hours or like that. So, or at least 12 hours, some once a month or even often, more often sometime. But uh, Running is of course a more intense version, and you can feel that it makes something very special to your body. You feel that afterwards, the same day and next day, have a good
Mm.
feeling about that. On the other hand, I think it's hard to really, in the same way, be relaxed and in a meditative uh, what to call it, state when you're running. When you're hiking, it takes more time. You have more time to really come into slower thinking and all these things. Uh, when I think of it, of course, the thinking is maybe even slower when I run, because I don't have the energy to think so much. That's good in itself, because that's
Mm.
something I value when the thoughts are getting slower. I think
Yes.
it can be a problem when we think too much, too quick, um, mixed. Yes.
Yes. And the path that you talked about already, that
Yeah.
you wanted to explore more
Mm.
for us and for anybody who would listen to this. So I think that is very exciting to do that. Like,
Mm.
what do we mean by path? Do we know it?
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah. Uh, I mean, uh, you can picture a path in the forest, and that it's very straightforward to. If you already found it, you can just follow it. But of course, a path in the forest, sometimes it become very vague. It can divide in
hmm,
several small paths and then suddenly disappear. So it's not always that easy to follow a path.
hmm,
Other paths are, of course, very, very easy to follow and like that. But at least easy to see, but they can be tricky to walk on because of a lot of stones and things in the way. So it's not easy in that sense. Uh, I think metaphorically, we see a difference between a big road and a small path. That's something we can relate to as a picture for taking the easy way in life, or more explore the more unknown, the trying to develop your skills, your thinking, your way of seeing the world.
yes. And
Mm.
for me, the path also could mean that the electron state of a particle system state, like how that is changing in a high dimensional space. And of course, we cannot plot high dimensional space. So I basically was working during my PhD work, I was staring at screen, seeing a electron electron is a fictitious electron as a mathematical or computational electron that is a dot moving through a two-dimensional space
Yeah.
on screen. So that is how using molecular dynamics and such tools that how that happens. Like,
Mm.
so that is so understanding their path and observing and how they move. Like, this is one concept of ergodicity. Like, will it span the whole space if it keeps moving for long enough time?
Mm.
So that is kind of very interesting. That's not how we work. That's somehow I was this morning. Actually, I had a thought that you talked about thought already. That when you run, your thoughts will slow down, and that is a good thing. Like, for sometimes, or at least for
Yeah.
many reasons.
Mm.
And I was thinking this morning that sometimes you have a thought and that goes to another thought, like it, because there is a neural pathway that connects to another thought that reminds you of, like this current thought will remind of that thought from before. And sometimes you don't really want to go to that thought because that kind of reminds of a thought that is not useful for many reasons that may not make you feel good either. So so then if you don't want that thought, basically you need to stop from the initial thought because you have more control over that one. Because
Yeah.
the next one will just spiral. It's like when you go to a trail, and if you don't want to go to where it takes you, you should not start there
Mm.
in a geographical space. Like it's also if you don't want to go to a point, like you should take the correct bus or correct train, or so that kind of things. Like that is also the neural pathways how they work.
Yeah.
And I think many people, when they talk about this, the concept of monkey mind, that the mind keeps thinking. And actually, when it gets started, it seems like it is more autonomous. It goes on by itself.
Mm.
But we probably have more control over the things we decide to think about to get started. So this is a thought. I'm not totally sure it is true, but it seems very likely. And this is also about which paths we take, and this story that these aspects of ourselves and which part we nourish more, that will get stronger.
Yes.
And this is also a path. So all these are metaphorical, but also the neural pathways are actual true connection in the neural network in our head, in our brain. So somehow that does something. And also the blood supply inside our body, that also when you run, your heart is pumping. So it is actually the blood circulation is improved for that. So that is also the path of your nourishment inside your own body through your external activities. That's how my mind is thinking about this thing.
Yes. And sometimes it is a bit hard for me to follow because you think and talk quite fast sometimes when you get into a lot of associations and this so for me it's a important task to to sometimes stop in the middle and try to ask you to be more what to say, more easy to understand. I think
So
all of all
to
of
make
the
it
Mhm.
simpler, I can say that there are paths in the when you go out, and
Mm.
also life paths that you take, but there are also paths that are actually connections. For example, in our brain, in neural networks.
Yeah, exactly. Mm.
And then we also have in our blood circulation system, there are pathways for blood to flow,
Mm.
take nourishments, and also purify the blood. So there's also a path. And also in the quantum space, there is also a concept of path, that the state, how that works. So that can become technical, but
Yeah.
for now, I think we all understand the neural pathways. That is more talked about.
Yes.
And our blood circulation system, I think we all learned that in our biology classes.
Yes.
So that is what I wanted to, not going too deep into those technicalities and the biology of it, more more about understanding that there are channels and connections
Yeah.
and choosing. Actually, in our life, we have choices when you go to run in a path, like you choose where to start and where
Yes.
to
Yes.
go.
And I mean, that's different days. Some day I want to just go the same path as I did last time or have done many times before, and other days I want to explore new paths. So that's of course also.
Yes. And we also talked about road, the yellow road
Mm,
and the yellow path.
yeah.
And so they are, so how does that make you feel, these two concepts? Are
Uh,
they similar or different?
no, well, for me, the path is the most interesting in the way it's about exploring. It's about I can connect that to very much of my thinking. I'm when especially when I'm out in nature, I connect that with sort of the searching, not just for where to go in the geography, but also inside me. So finding that path, finding what to focus on, what's important for me, which questions shall I think about now? What solutions can I find? All these things. The road, I think, I mean, it's sometimes when you're out hiking, it's very relaxing to come out to a road when have been out in quite on a tricky path for a long time. So it's good to have a road. It's good to have it when you shall go by the bus back home again.
Hmm.
So, so I think we are used to live in a society where there are roads, there are built roads which are faster ways to get to things. So you not always need to go the whole way on a small path. Uh, and that's of course also a metaphor. I think for us, this road is the organization we try to build. We want to do different things, and we need to organize it in a way. We cannot the whole time just be out in the bush and just think a lot of thoughts, but never organize it. So I think the yellow road is the way to organize it. But we need to always also be curious and try to find the path. And of course,
Yeah.
some good question here now. I think a good question now is of course why it's yellow. But maybe we shall come back to that later. I think it can also be interesting that for people to be curious about it. Uh, what do you think?
Yes, I think that is a good question, and that also takes us to all other concepts of color theory,
Hmm.
what color means to us, and yellow is also a color,
Yeah.
or we see in the traffic between green and red.
Yeah, that's true. So one thing I want to come to now before we end this first presentation is that we are very interested in the development of AI, uh, artificial intelligence, and robots, and all kind of aspects of this. Maybe we.
Like for me, if talk from my point of view, yes, like I cannot miss it. It's happening. So this is what we are observing. So that comes into our conversation with, and it seems to be important for us and others. So we take that into account. Yes.
Yes, of course, it's affecting everyone, and so it's not like some very odd topic that's totally outside what's influencing people. But on the other hand, I don't believe that enough people are really discussing the more deep aspects of it.
Mm.
There are, of course, discussions about all the practical implications and that, but and of course there are discussions also on deeper level, but I think there is room for more of that, and there do we want to fill that room. Uh, I think we have a bit different sort of point of views on this in a good way. Or what do you think?
Yeah, I believe we have complementary knowledge about it and complementary philosophies I don't have a conscious philosophy about AI and like artificial intelligence and all related matters or robots, but
Mm.
seems like our background from like mine is more technology oriented background, the things I worked with and learned and studied, and you have a not you although you use technology for your work as well, but
Yeah.
you're not as involved in technology in the same way. So there is a good meeting point, I think.
Mm.
That is, I would agree with that.
Yeah. And I mean, I've been quite, what to call it, resistant or not not that word, more anxious sometimes about new technology. It took very long before I bought my first mobile phone, and that kind of it's not like I not like technology. I really appreciate a lot of it, but sometimes when it's coming, uh, these new things that I have the feeling that you shall just have everyone is having it. Then I can sometimes be a
Yes.
bit hesitant.
And when we talked about AI and why it is important to discuss that now, of
mm,
course things are happening, and this is a path that the society will choose. There's many micro paths in that as well, like what to do with AI and not.
yeah,
And so that is a choice. And as soon as they make those choices, we'll go to a certain point that we may or may not go to as a collective. So that is fascinating in itself, but also that when you are talking about your own feelings about technologies and computer, that probably is also changing with age. For example, there are people who now, I was talking to somebody the other day, he started to play computer games, including mobile-based games and such when he was very young, like as young as 4 years old. And that time, somebody wouldn't have much choices. Like people who will grow up in future, they will grow up with internet and AI and such. And this kind of dialogue, this transition time,
mm,
that often is very, very important to understand concepts and so for example, today everybody is growing up with cars from very like from day one in the life. Maybe they're coming back from the hospital to home with a car. Like that's very, very likely. Uh,
yeah,
which kind of cars that can be very different, but that is their experience from birth.
mm,
So in that sense, nobody thinks anything strange about cars, seems like. And we don't discuss a lot about it that, okay, should they have car? But there is a discussion. People want more bicycles and for climate and other reasons.
yeah,
And but in general, people just go and ride a car like without much concerns about that. At least most people, as we can understand. But with AI, when it becomes norm that everybody has AI and that's how societies work, this sort of dialogues can become difficult to take place because they are already inside that AI bubble. But
yeah,
now we are entering the bubble, and some are more inside and some are not. So it seems like you are almost standing on the edge of that bubble,
mm,
and you're trying to understand it.
mm,
And also, so we both are in many ways. This whole society is kind of entering into a new world of shift that there was no AI in a significant way, and now suddenly AI is everywhere.
yeah. Well, I think it's very refreshing when you're out hiking in the mountains for 1 week or 1.5 week, not seeing a car, not using
Yes.
your mobile phone, maybe taking photos with it, but not connected to the world. And this will become, I think, even more important in the future, that people find some places to take a break from technology for a little while, to just get the perspective.
Yes, I
Because
agree.
say we live inside it, but I because you said this about cars, that is really like when you see a car after after 1.5 week in the mountains, then it feels strange. I mean,
Mhm.
not totally strange, of course, you haven't forgotten what a car is, but still it's like you can joke about it, but there is a feeling that this is a bit strange. So I mean, if it had been a half a year without seeing a car, then it would feel even more strange. So it's not that we are so uh, totally used to it that it cannot change if something changes. So I I that was just a reflection about that. But um, so
Yes,
so
thank you for sharing.
yeah, exactly. Uh, However, yeah, uh, of course I agree that this is so becoming so normal and natural. It's of course all these things that happens now in this time of great change of transition is important. Yes.
Yes, but AI will not be the only part in our exploration, but this will be one of the core things that we are, at least for now, we will explore.
Mm,
Because we are actually curious and we wanted to understand more.
yeah,
And also, as you said, it is needed, and there are not many who understand it fully. And if there is anybody who understands it fully,
yeah,
what will be the implications of the changes that is happening today?
yeah. I mean, one thing I think is important and that we can bring to people is that there are always different perspectives on things. You cannot be totally sure of anything. Uh,
Mm,
I mean, it's not healthy to go around and doubt everything. You that's not a good way either. But you need to quite often understand that other perspectives can also be true.
mm.
You need different point of views on things.
And
So
we're also hoping to have dialogues and exchanges with the broader community and others, not
abs-
only you, not only us. It's bigger, like exploration together with the collective.
definitely yes.
And that, I think that will be exciting, and that is very encouraging
Mm?
to have that. And that's also humanly connecting with each other in the society.
Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to that, to
Me
this
too.
exploration of the path. So, thank you for today.
Thank you, Fredrik.